Hey, New Life Church, this is Pastor Jake. I'm glad to be with you guys as we continue through our TRAC Bible reading plan. This week we're finishing up the book of 2nd Chronicles, and this past week we actually read a story that was actually pretty impactful to me as whenever I first started following Jesus. I remember reading about a king and something very specific about a king that I began to remember and pray over myself as I started following Jesus, and even to this day, I still pray. In chapter 26, we read about this King Uzziah. And what it says about King Uzziah is that all the people of Judah took King Uzziah when he was 16 years old. So he started out at a very young age. And they made him king instead of his father. And so what happened was, it says about King Uzziah, when he was 16-year-old and he began to reign 50-some years, it says that he did what was right in the Lord's eyes, and because he set himself to seek God in the days of Zechariah, who instructed him to fear the Lord God, and as long as he sought the Lord, God made him prosper. Now, I know that this almost sounds like transactional. God, if I do good, then God, you'll bless me with good things. But that's not what we see here. The truth is, when we look at the story of King Uzziah, we have to ask ourselves something. Who is the hero of this story? It says that King Uzziah, he did what was right in the Lord's eyes, and he was prosperous as long as he sought the Lord. The emphasis is completely on God, not on King Uzziah. It is just a man who realized something, that he had to humble himself and seek God in order to know how to prosper, because God had prosperity for those who followed him. And so what happens is you read on from 6 through verses 15, and you realize King Uzziah, he was always going to battle against other nations, and he was destroying the things that were unpleasing to the Lord. And at the very end of verse 15, it says that King Uzziah, his fame spread far, for he was marvelously helped till he was strong. The hero of this story is not King Uzziah. The hero of this story is God right now, because he was the one marvelously helping King Uzziah. It's not King Uzziah that has some significant strength in and of himself. It is completely God that is giving him the strength as King Uzziah seeks the Lord. King Uzziah understood from the very beginning that if he was to have any sort of success as king, he had to seek God in order to understand what was going to cause the nation of Judah, the southern kingdom of Israel, to be successful. And he understood that. King Uzziah, he sought the Lord, and he was prosperous because he was marvelously helped by the one who causes all things to prosper. But then he starts trying to take the story and make himself the hero. Starting in verse 16, you start to read that King Uzziah started, it says that when he grew strong, it says his fame spread far, and for he was marvelously helped until he was strong. And then it says, but when he was strong, he grew proud. He started thinking this had anything to do with him. It says he grew proud to his destruction, for he was unfaithful to the Lord his God and entered the temple of the Lord to burn incense on the altar of incense. He started thinking that somehow this was about him and that he could do whatever he wanted in the Lord's eyes. And that's not true. The thing that marvelously helped him is that he was obedient to the Lord. But now he thinks that he has some sort of significant influence, that he can just do whatever he wants. I remember there was a time in my life whenever I had a friend whose father was a mechanic. And I remember my car broke down one time, and I called into the shop to ask my friend's dad, hey, what do you think is going on with this car? And so I called in, I spoke with the front woman at the office, and she says he's very busy right now. And I was like, can you just put him through to me? Because I just need to ask him a question. And whenever she finally did, I was kind of rude to her. And when she finally got him on the phone, he ended up shutting me down. And he was like, I don't know what's wrong with your car unless you bring it in. I'm working on other things right now. Please just handle this with the woman in the office. And I thought I had some sort of significant influence in the situation. I know the mechanic, so let me talk to him. And he showed me quickly that there's still a respectful and responsible way to do things with his business. And so this is what happened with Uzziah. He started thinking of himself highly. He had some sort of influence. He had some sort of relationship with God that was beyond other people and beyond obedience. And what happened is he began to grow prideful, and what ends up happening is he's struck with leprosy. Remember today that in the story of your life, the story, while you are a key character, God is still the hero, and God is still the one who has authority over everything that happens. We submit to the Lord and understand that God, it says in the Bible, it says that God, he favors the humble, the lowly, but he opposes the proud. I'll leave you with this last parable that Jesus spoke. He says in Luke chapter 18, verse 9, Jesus said this. He told a parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous, and then they treated others with contempt. He tells them this parable. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, prayed thus: God, I thank you that I'm not like other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give tithes of all that I get. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even lift his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. Jesus said, I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the Pharisee. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and everyone who humbles himself will be exalted. This Pharisee started to trust in himself, and he thought he was the main character of his story. While he is a key character, we have to remember in all of our lives, God is the main character. He is the hero of our story. And what we have to do is humble ourselves before God, like the tax collector. You realize the man who did not sin, who was good at not sinning, the Pharisee, actually still was not justified before God. It was the one who knew that he was a sinner and desperately sought the Lord for help. And he humbled himself and he acknowledged, God, I'm a sinner, and there's nothing I can do unless you, as King Uzziah said, marvelously help me. So guys, go this week knowing something, that we need to humble ourselves before God, and the only success that we have can only come from the hand of God. And so when we find success with ourselves, humble yourself and say, God, thank you for marvelously helping me. And pray this prayer over yourself if you find yourself not relying on the Lord too much. Say, God, please help me to see how much I need you, and please would you marvelously help me so that I wouldn't just be successful at sinning less, but instead I would be successful in loving you and seeking you and obeying you. Guys, I hope that you guys have a great week, humbling yourself before the Lord and seeing his marvelous help this week.